leg in our Picturing the Shoah film series. This is a loud microphone. Tonight we're showing the film Bent, which is a story about the gay experience in the Holocaust, a story that I kind of think is rarely told, because I often read about the Holocaust and it's something you very rarely read about, let alone see. This film is one of the few films I believe that has been made about this experience. I should say that you're in the YIVO Institute of Jewish Research. Those of you who have never been here before, YIVO is the world's largest archive of artifacts, documents, books, typewriters from East European Jewish history. The archive was smuggled out of Lithuania in 1940. Most of the people who created the archive unfortunately were murdered, but the archive survives them, and it survives the people who themselves were the owners of every photo, Sefer Torah, anything you can imagine, town record. And this is here in, we have refrigerated labs, scholars who write books, filmmakers who films, come here to learn from first-hand documents and other material how things were in Eastern Europe. In any case, I'd like to, without further ado, introduce Nathan Lee, a critic for the New York Times and contributing editor to Film Comment magazine, who is the curator of the series. And the series so far has been exciting, interesting, and revelatory. For one reason, because many of the films have rarely been shown, rarely been seen, and tonight is another example of one of those films. Mr. Nathan Lee.
Thanks. When I organized this series about films in the Holocaust, I never thought I'd be showing something with Mick Jagger and drag, but here we are, Bent, tonight. This movie is based on a play by Martin Sherman that was written in 1978. It was very controversial at the time because of how sexually explicit it was, in combination with what was then the pretty unprecedented topic of the gay experience in the Holocaust. Certainly in popular culture, it was all but unknown. Since then, of course, things have changed quite a bit, but as Harold said, there have not been a lot of films directly dealing with the gay or lesbian experience during the Holocaust, so I'm pleased to show this film tonight. The play, as I said, was controversial, but it was also very successful, first in London, then on Broadway. It was nominated for Tony and a Pulitzer, and then has been revived over the years quite successfully. The film didn't generate anything near that sort of controversy itself, but it follows the play fairly closely for better and for worse. I sort of picked the film tonight for two reasons. One, I was interested in this topic specifically. It's not something, again, we see often in popular culture treatments of the Holocaust. And then also the idea of this series is to take a look at movies that represent the Holocaust in different ways, whether it's a specific form of documentary or the kind of intellectual essay films of Jean-Luc Godard we showed a few weeks ago. And this film, I think, is an example of movies that have an awkward kind of stage-to-screen adaptation. The movie's kind of in two parts. In the opening part is this wonderfully realized, sort of very sexy evocation of decadent Berlin nightlife before the kind of arrival of the Nazis. They show up, and the lead character, played by Clive Owen, kind of goes on the run and gets sent to Dachau. The second part of the film becomes very minimal. It's set in the camp, and it deals with his sort of experience being in the camp and then having a kind of relationship, an erotic affair with a fellow prisoner. And the second part of the film is really indebted to kind of theater of the absurd, sort of Samuel Beckett kind of minimal playwriting. It's basically two guys on a stage doing these kind of minimal repetitive activities, and it's all language driven. I'm not sure how well this actually works in the film. I think the intimacy of watching that kind of material on stage it makes it sort of better to enter that sort of mind frame of just people sort of talking. I've always found the second part of this film a little bit awkward, but I think it's an interesting example of what happens to material when it moves from stage to screen. So I want to keep this pretty brief because I'll be afterwards for a little bit of Q&A if you have any questions. So thanks for coming and enjoy the movie.